sure you guys have noticed the title of this episode by now. No, that was not a typo on my part. The slash up there, no. That actually belongs in the title of today's fanfic. If you don't believe me, check out the link in the description below and you will see what I mean. So, because the author of today's fanfic is too lazy to take down their story and fix the title, today's fanfic is literally called It/S All Too Much. By Beatle Babe. Today's fanfic is quite unique because it's not on fanfiction.net. It's on this website called soupfiction.net, which is pretty much a knockoff of fanfiction.net. It's under the music category, and its subcategory is the Beatles. I had a feeling this was going to have something to do with the Beatles, seeing the author is called Beatle Babe. The story has 11 reviews and it has 1 chapter. So you guys think this is going to be short, right? No, it's not. I checked the word count for this story and it's a long one. Again, the author was too lazy to put in chapters. First they were too lazy to fix the title, and then they were also too lazy to put in chapters. So, it's going to be one hell of a ride. Ha! I'm looking forward to it. Not. Okay, let's get started. It/S All Too Much by Beatle Babe. Oh, Paul, do it more. More. Harder. Faster. Paul! Oh, Paul! I'm assuming they're supposed to be having sex. I moaned and gasped. I moaned and gasped. Beatle Babe, did you actually put yourself in this fanfic? You did, didn't you? That's supposed to be you, isn't it? Oh, and I just noticed the name you were saying. This is supposed to be about Paul McCartney, isn't it? Not only do I hate fanfics about real people, I also hate it when authors insert themselves inside of fanfics. And yes, I know, I did that too, but the fanfic I wrote was supposed to be a joke and it wasn't supposed to be taken seriously. And at least I wasn't fucking the main characters of Sweeney Todd in that fanfic. I was trying to help them out. This, on the other hand, you are fucking Paul McCartney. And Paul McCartney is a real person who you will never be with. So pretty much this story is a fucking fantasy. It's a fantasy. It's a freaking. Wow, I'm not even done with the first paragraph and I'm already flipping my lid. Well, all I know is that it can't possibly get any worse than this. It can't. It really can't. So let's continue. I moaned and gasped as Paul thrust deeply inside of me. We breathed heavily as we rocked rhythmically back and forth together on the bed. Then I started to get this strange feeling as Paul caressed my breasts and he slid his tongue into my mouth. A feeling almost like I was coming into him. Even though I know that that was impossible. Get rid of the other that. Right before he came, he pulled out because we didn't want or need me to get pregnant. The next morning, I feel sick, Paul said as he clutched his stomach. No, it's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence, false alarm. Everyone has stomach aches. Oh, baby, was it something you ate last night? Before he could respond, he darted for the bathroom. When I caught up with him, he was throwing up near the toilet. No, it's just a coincidence. You know, everyone gets sick once in a while. Uh-huh. Right after they have sex. Sweetheart, are you okay? I felt his forehead. He didn't really feel warm. Paul, I'm going to get you some ginger ale, all right? Okay, he said weakly. There were tiny beads of sweat forming on his forehead. I haven't thrown up in years, he moaned as he broke into tears. Thank you for ruining Paul McCartney's character. Yeah, no wait, he's not a character because he's a real person. Thank you for making him look like a baby, which he isn't one in real life. Frickin' creepy stalker person, fanboy thing, whatever you are. Oh honey, it's all right. You're going to be fine. It's probably just a virus or something, I said, trying to comfort him. I went to the kitchen and poured some ginger ale and wet down a wash rag with cold water and walked back with them to him. When I returned to the bathroom, Paul had himself propped up against the wall and he was extremely pale. Okay, why is the word extremely capitalized? Why is it like that? I helped him lie down on the floor, put the washcloth in his forehead, to his forehead, I'm sorry, and propped up his head with a big fluffy pillow. He was panting, out of breath. I guided the glass to his mouth since he was too shaky to hold it on his own. Shortly after he finished it, he passed out. Paul, speak to me. After a few minutes, his eyes slowly began to open, and he got sick again, except this time it was on himself. Oh, Paul, I said as he kept getting sick all over everything. I'm making you a doctor's appointment. I'll be back, I said to him as I headed into the living room for the phone. I called his doctor and he said that he could see him, but it'd be about a week before until then. Okay, first of all, get rid of the word before. And secondly, what type of doctor does that? If someone is suddenly sick and if you call the doctor would be like, bring him in immediately, not, bring him in a week. Because what if it's something fatal and he dies before the week is out? Da-da-da! So a week passed, and Paul's condition was about the same, if not worse. He seemed to be sicker in the mornings than any other time of day or night. I drove Paul to the doctor's that day. I waited several hours in the waiting room for him, worrying the whole time. Finally, after 5 hours, he came out, and he wore a very, again, what's with the capital word? Strange face, one that I'd never seen on him before. The doctor needs to see both of us in his office. Why? Are you dying? Are you going to be okay? I'm not dying. I'll be fine. But he needs to see us. Stop capitalizing these words. They do not need to be capitalized. All right, I said. We walked into his office, which smelled heavily of rubbing alcohol, might I add, and that is irrelevant how. The doctor had a very solemn face, which I knew couldn't possibly be a good sign. Mrs. McCartney, he asked. Actually, no, we're not exactly married. Oh, well, your boyfriend here, well, it's hard to explain. I examined him thoroughly, and I couldn't find anything wrong with him. Then he said that you two had sex the other night. And just on a lark, I ran several more tests on him, and it turns out that the fertilization process worked backwards. And it turns out that the fertilization process worked backwards? No. It must be leading into something else. It can't possibly be going into what I think it's going into. Then he brought out a diagram of the female and male reproductive systems. You see, your egg traveled out of you and into his penis, where it probably mixed with his sperm right about here. Then it kept on going up, and apparently it somehow made its way into his abdominal cavity and is implanted somewhere in there, which would basically mean in plain English, Paul is indeed pregnant. So, are you telling me that's right before ejaculated, her egg somehow left her uterus, traveled down into her vagina, somehow made its way into his penis, mixed in with his sperm, magically traveled up to his abdominal cavity, and somehow got fertilized. Fertilized! First of all, during a lady's cycle, when the egg comes down and stays in her uterus, it stays in there for a certain amount of time. The only time it comes down is when she's on her period. Because when a woman is on her period, that means the egg was not fertilized in time and the body is getting rid of the egg. That's what the PMS is. So, first of all, unless he was fucking her while she was PMSing, the egg would not be leaving her freaking uterus. Ignore that and go into the next part where it somehow traveled into his penis. Wouldn't it be ejected from his penis when he ejaculated? I know that the story said that he pulled out before he did it, but he would still ejaculate. So, there's another flaw in your stupid logic. Thirdly, how the heck would it travel up to his abdominal area? There is nothing in the sexual region for a man where it would go up into his abdominal area. How? How would it do that? How would it do that? How would it manage to embed itself on his abs? If anything, it would somehow be in his stomach, not his abs. So did it magically pop up from underneath the muscle and is now between his skin and his freaking abs? Well... And finally, even if the egg managed to get there, it would not be able to grow into a baby because it would not be able to be fed off of anything. A man does not have the stuff needed to have a baby grow. They do not have uteruses, they do not have umbilical cords, so the egg would just die. It would not grow into a baby, it would die. So this is not possible. Not freaking possible. Well, now that I've explained my logic to you, let's continue to read this story. What? Yes, I know that. It's hard to believe. I mean, I've never heard of this happening before. That's because it's never happened before, because it's not possible! Paul broke down and started crying. I held him close to me in my arms in an attempt to calm and comfort him. It didn't seem to help him much, though. Now, Paul, we need to be extremely careful. Again, they capitalized the word extremely. Or the baby could crush his internal organs. He doesn't have a uterus like a woman, so the baby is pretty much just in there, except it has implanted itself against the side of one of his organs. It's too small to see now, but when it's big enough to see in an ultrasound, I will be able to see if it's in danger of his health. If it is, then we'll have to remove it surgically. Paul shuddered at the sheer thought of needing surgery. How am I going to give birth? Push it out of my dick? No, it's nothing like that. Since you don't have the same parts as a woman, it wouldn't exactly be like a cesarean section, but we'll still have to cut through your abdominal wall, take the baby out, and repair any damage done. It would be a major surgery, yes, but whatever happens, it will have to be removed surgically. I swallowed hard, hoping that Paul would end up all right. There are many risks with your pregnancy, Mr. McCartney. Are you sure you want to carry it to term? Doctor, I'm already pregnant. I want this baby now. You're not going to take it away from me. The baby is a person too, just like you and me, except smaller. It deserves to live, to get a chance at life. I've always wanted to be a daddy. This is my chance. I'm not going to kill my own child. No comment. I cannot believe that Paul didn't want to just take the easy way out of this. Take that easy way out of this. If I was in his position, I know that I would. When we got home, all Paul wanted to do was go to bed. I felt bad that he had to go through this. Don't you mean go through with this? It was probably all my fault. I should have known something was wrong. Why did I have to have shagged Paul that night? Why do you keep on capitalizing random words that do not need to be capitalized? It is really annoying when every other freaking word is capitalized when it doesn't need to be! I really wanted him to get an abortion. I didn't want to risk losing him. But it was his body and his decision, and I just couldn't change that. A few weeks later. Ow, my stomach hurts. I heard from the bedroom. Poor Polly, poor Polly. I went to see him. I laid down next to him on the bed and unbuttoned his shirt, revealing his bare chest and stomach. I rested my hand on his stomach and felt a small bump. It seemed a little high up to be the baby, but I called the doctor anyway, to put my mind at ease. He said that he could see Paul in a few hours, and he told me some things that I could do in the meantime to help ease the pain. I went back to Paul, who was now doubled over in pain on the floor. He was screaming. Actually screaming! You do not need actually screaming capitalized! We know that he's screaming because you pointed out before that he was screaming! Because it hurt so badly. No shit, Sherlock! Paul, you might want to kill me for this, but get on the bed. I can't. I sat on the edge of the bed, spread my legs so that one was on each side of him, put my hands underneath his armpits, and pulled him up onto the bed, which was very difficult, not only because of his weight, but also because of all the kicking and squirming he did. When I got him onto the bed, I looked at his face. He was in tears. I got a few pillows and put them under his bum so his pelvis would be elevated above the rest of his body. It didn't help much. Why do they keep on capitalizing these words? But it got his screaming to dull down to a low whimper. I delicately caressed my fingertips over his bare chest and noticed an increasingly large bulge in his pants. Yes, because when everyone's in agony, it turns them on. My fingers traveled down from his chest, over his stomach, and then to the zipper of his pants. That was not necessary. I unzipped his fly and slid down his pants to around his ankles. I felt him through his boxers, and as I did so, he reached up and pulled off my blouse. I carefully slid off his boxers as he unlatched my bra. How is he doing this exactly? I took both my hands and slowly ran them up and down his penis. He was getting hard, so hard. As I was doing this, Paul was licking my breasts. I felt my skirt go now, and then my panties. How is he undressing her if he's lying on top of her? I don't get it. I don't know. Right before Paul was going to come, I took him in my mouth, and at the last second, his whole body tensed up, and I could feel that as he shot into my mouth, which I hungrily swallowed. Lovely visual. In the midst of all this, the doorbell was ringing. Naturally, of all times, it had to be now. I got him out of my mouth and threw a blanket over him. I then quickly put on a satin robe and headed for the door. When I opened it, I stood face to face with Ringo. Rich, what are you doing here? I wanted to know why Paul hasn't been to work in weeks. He's, spit it out! He's sick. Yeah. He's very, very sick. Oh, what does he have? It's a very rare disease. You've probably never heard of it. Oh, come now. What's it called? Macrophthalmitis. I came up with. Must be rare. I've never heard of it. Is it contagious? No, it's not contagious. Can I see him then? You come sit in the living room and I'll go ask him. I led him inside to a chair and raced towards the bedroom where Paul lay on the bed moaning. Paul, I'm going to have to take you off the pillow, so you're going to be in pain for a little bit. Ringo's coming in, so try not to scream, okay? I took the pillow from underneath his bum and he made a sound very similar to a dog. Since his shirt was just unbuttoned, not off, he had no other clothes he had no other clothes, no, don't you mean on? So I just put him under the covers of the bed up to his mid-chest. Now stay here and do not scream! Why can't he scream? You seem to be screaming every other word in this frickin' story. I went after Ringo. Okay, come on in, this way, I said as I led his to the bedroom. Don't you mean him? Paul, you don't look well at all, Ringo commented. I'm not well, Paul managed to squeak out. Excuse me for acting, but what does macafetalitis affect? I exchanged a few nervous glances with Paul. It affects the digestive tract. Yeah, Well then, Polly, how do you feel? Uncomfortable, he got out. Rich, let's get you on your way, shall we? He's going to the doctor's in a little bit and he needs to get ready. Well, when will he be able to come back to work? I really don't know. He's going to drive in his condition? What the heck is with all these exclamation points and question marks? Get rid of them! They are distracting, just have one! Or if it's going to be like a major question, then you can have an exclamation mark and a question mark, but not a whole bunch of them like that. That's something that you see in a comic book. No, I'm driving. But you don't have a license. He had a point there. Then what do you suggest I do? I could drive, he offered. I need to be with him. I'll bring you too then. Why is the word sigh in parentheses? Do not do that. Fine. Come back to the house. I led him to the kitchen and started a pot of tea. Once it was on the stove, I went back to Paul. Okay, honey, sweetie, Ringo's going to drive you to the doctor's instead of me, but I'm still going with you. Now, there's only about 45 minutes left until your appointment, so if you'd please put some clothes on, it would be helping me out a lot. How about you put the clothes on him, seeing you were the one who was undressing him in the first place so you could play with his ding-dong? Okay, they spelled okay wrong, but I don't care at this point. He groaned as he difficultly stumbled to the closet. I walked back out to Ringo, who was serving himself some of the tea. Paul is going to be out here shortly. He needs to get dressed. Around 20 minutes later, Jen! I heard Paul scream from the other room. I ran as fast as I could, not even noticing that Ringo was following, to find poor Polly laying on the floor with his pants halfway up and his jacket undone. Paul was now unconscious. Paul! Ringo tried to get Paul up. Well, let's get him decent before we do anything else. I got Paul's pants while Ringo fixed up Paul's coat. Rich, please be really careful with him, I said as we carried him out to the car. Ringo just thumped him down in the back seat of the car. Because of it, Paul hit his head on the door. Ow! Paul yelped, dumbfounded. What the bloody hell was that for? I figured out a way to strap Paul into the back seat of the car so that he could keep laying down, and then off we went. At the doctor's, Rich and I stayed in the waiting room while Paul went in. Half an hour passes. A nurse came to me. Mrs. McCartney, we're not married, I sighed. Okay, fine. Well, Paul is going to have an ultrasound, and he said that he doesn't want to have us anywhere near him unless you're there. So could you please come in? Or, no, wait, what? So could you please summon? Don't you mean come in with a C, you freaking idiot? Sure, I don't see why not. I thought that ultrasounds were only done on pregnant women to see the baby, Ringo commented. No, they're not! Ultrasounds are used for other things other than pregnancies. Look it up. Oh, Paul's condition is rare and he needs it done to see something in there. I quickly shot back. Whatever the bloody hell Paul has is just plain weird, he said flatly. So off I went into the exam room. Once inside, I saw Paul lying on the exam table with no shirt on, but a multitude of wires and monitors hooked up to his chest. Paul smiled weakly at me. "All right, now, Mr. McCartney, can we now proceed with the procedure?" asked the doctor. "Fine," is all that Paul said. I walked over to Paul and gently held his hand. The nurse brought over a small bottle containing some lightly colored fluid in it. She popped open the cap on it and rubbed a little on his stomach with a cotton ball. The doctor took the small instrument and slid it around on various spots on Paul's belly, watching a small screen next to the exam table. He kept making these small humming noises. I watched the screen, trying to see any sign of movement. There's his liver. There's his large intestine. What's this? He paused for a moment as he stared at the screen. "Nurse, magnify this for me." "What? What is it?" I asked nervously. "Well, do you see that on the side of his stomach?" I nodded. "Well, now that it's magnified, I can see that is the baby. Paul's condition is progressing very rapidly. He's only a few weeks pregnant, I know, but his pregnancy is at the equivalent of a woman who is 3 months pregnant." I didn't know what to think of this, much less what to say. I saw the baby on the screen all right, and I also saw the look of discomfort on Paul's face. The baby has attached itself to the side of Paul's stomach. When the baby starts to kick, if it's facing the wrong way, could very easily put a hole right through his stomach, which, if left untreated, will kill him. I highly doubt that. But then again, I highly doubt this entire story because I highly doubt this would happen in reality. I gulped hard. "Is that what the lump on Paul's belly is?" I asked curiously. "Yes, that's what it is. And if he keeps progressing at this rate, he'll have the baby in a matter of weeks. How can I help reduce his pain until then?" "I have some papers written up for you on that. Here they are," he said as he handed me the short stack of papers. "He shouldn't go back to work until the pregnancy is over, and even then he'll need to stay in bed. Okay, they have a space between the E and D in bed, so it says BD, for a few weeks because of the surgery, and you'll need time to heal. Therefore, I am ordering Paul to be on bed rest until he goes into labor." Excuse me for interrupting, but how will I know that I've gone into labor? "What is it going to feel like?" Paul asked shyly. "Well, if you can imagine it, the pain will be unbearable and it will come and go at first. It should feel like a hard punch in the stomach, and each one will come closer to when the last one was. But I don't know how and if your water will break because I cannot tell if there's any amniotic fluid in there or not. If there is and it breaks, I doubt you'd know. But when it gets like that, you should be rushed to the emergency room immediately and have somebody phone me. I will be one of the doctors that will be helping to deliver the baby. Please, whatever you do, do not let anybody know what's going on that could possibly tell anyone that isn't a doctor that will be working on him," I pleaded. "I wasn't planning on it." "When can we go home?" Paul asked wearily. "Just as soon as we get you unhooked from all this stuff. You'll need to check in here frequently to make sure that everything's okay." The doctor promptly removed him from the machines, and I buttoned up Paul's shirt for him. I put my arm around Paul's waist and helped him outside. Ringo helped me bring Paul back into the car and drove us home. "So, why'd he need the ultrasound?" His condition is worsening and they need to see inside of him without having to cut him open." A tiny mumble came from the back seat. "What's that you say, Paul?" Ringo asked. "I'm pregnant," Paul said in a very tiny voice. Ringo screeched the car to a halt. "What the bloody hell did you just say?" "He said he's pregnant," I said calmly. "Oh, no you don't. This is not happening. It can't be. I must be having a bad dream or something." He said as he started to cry. "Oh, Richie, everything's going to be okay. I'll explain more once when we get back to the house." So we drove back home in silence, an eerie silence, one that was hard for me to stand. When we got there, Ringo seemed a bit afraid to touch Paul, so I struggled to support all of Paul's body weight with my back, but managed to get him into the house and onto the couch by myself. "All right, Ringo, see, I'm unbuttoning his shirt. See that lump right there? That's the baby. How the fuck did that happen? Well, do you want me to use proper words or slang? The proper words will be just fine, he said coldly. Alright, well, it's all very complicated, but you see, instead of his sperm going inside of me, my egg went into his body, and it mixed with his semen and got up to his stomach somehow and implanted itself on the side of it. One wrong move and Paul could die. He'll need surgery to get it out. After the surgery, Paul will need a few more weeks of bed rest, but then he can work with you guys again all that he wants. Ringo had this weird look on his face, in between shock, disgust, and fright. So whose fault is it? Excuse me? What did you just say? Whose fault is it? Which one of you fucked up and made this happen? I don't know. I could do you, and if you get pregnant, we'll know it's my fault. No, no way. I am hurt. You always used to want me. Sigh. What the fuck? So you're openly saying that you're willing to cheat on your boyfriend to see if you can get another man pregnant? How classy. Is Paul going to grow breasts? How should I know? Maybe I should leave, Ringo said uneasily. You don't have to go, I said in protest. No, that's all right. I think I need to go, he said right before he ran out the front door. Sigh. Stop having the word sigh in parentheses. Ugh. You don't do that. You do not have it like that. Don't do that. I just lost one of my best friends over this whole thing. I don't even want to know what the other two are going to think. And what about the fans? What will they think? I don't even want to think about it. I want to die, Paul said, crying into my shoulder. Oh, baby, you know that you don't really want to die. Yes, I do. I won't let you. Get out of my bloody fucking way, Jen. No, I grabbed his arm hard, but he pulled away and headed towards the bathroom. I ran in front of him and blocked the door with my body. He shoved me out of the way and reached for the bottle of sleeping pills in the cabinet. But I pulled him out of the bathroom with all my strength, or at least right outside the doorway of it. He tried to push me out of the way again, but I brought my knee up hard into his... Ah! Okay, you couldn't have completed that sentence and say that you brought your knee up into his crotch? I don't know. He screamed as he fell to the floor, holding his crotch. What the bloody hell was that for? Trying to knock some sense into you. I did it for your own good. Then he yelled some unmentionable obscenities at me in his Scouse accent so thick you could barely make out what he was saying. I locked the bathroom door, took the key, and left him there on the floor in agony. Well, that was nice of you. The guy's been in pain all this time, so you kick him in the crotch and you just leave him there to suffer? How charming of you, lady, how charming of you. Just then a knock came on the door. Oh, holy fuck, I said under my breath. Whoever it was was going to see Paul on the floor and what I'd done to him. Paul, shut the bloody hell up. Somebody's at the door. I went to answer it, and it was a very nervous-looking John. What was that? What was all that? I came and saw Ringo run screaming, and he left so fast that he got himself into a car accident. Paul was trying to commit suicide, so I had to use force to stop him. What did you do to him? He said as he rushed to Paul's side. I kicked him in the pills. In the pills? Don't you mean in the balls? So I guess Paul McCartney has balls that are this big. How could you? He'd be dead right now if I hadn't. Well, get him some ice for it at least. No, he has to learn the hard way. Okay. John tried to help him sit up, but he accidentally touched Paul's stomach trying. What the hell, he said. Hey, Paul, do you have a tumor or something in your stomach? No. Then what's that lump on your stomach? John, he's pregnant. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Guys don't have babies. Didn't your parents ever have this talk with you, Jen? Fine. Don't believe me. But if he's not really pregnant, then what are all these? I shoved the notes the doctor had written down for me at him. John's face went pale and he fainted. Paul was getting himself up off the floor with much difficulty. He stumbled into the kitchen but came out just fine with a glass of water. He walked over to John, stopped, and dumped the water on John's head. Gad! John yelped in shock. Paul started giggling. Then he dropped the glass on his head too. Ow! I'm up, mate, I'm up. I couldn't help but stifle a giggle myself. So, Paul, what's it like being pregnant and all? To put it in its simplest terms, it's a drag. The biggest drag of my life. Oh, Polly, you're gonna be a mama. John said in an exaggeratedly high-pitched voice. I slapped him across the face. Ow, I was just telling it like it is. I glared at him with a look that could kill. So you have no problem with Ringo being a complete and utter douchebag and running out of the house, but when when John's making a joke of it, you slap him across the face? Stupid. But then again, this is coming from the woman who is willing to kick her pregnant boyfriend in the balls just because he's upset and distressed, and then leave him there to make him learn a lesson. Get out, I growled at him. No, don't make him go. Paul stopped John from leaving. John? Yeah? Am I still in the band? Of course you are, mate. We haven't been able to do much of anything without you there, and personally, John lowered his voice, I support you all the way on this whole thing, even though it's pretty weird. Whatever ends up happening, I'll stay here with you the whole time. Paul started crying again, and John held him in his arms. There, it'll be all right. I want me mum, Paul cried. You're not the only one at this point. I know you do. I do too. But they're both long gone, and we both know that. John began to look a little misty-eyed himself. How are you going to get it out? I need an operation, Paul said shakily. Well, I'm with you all the way. John patted Paul on the back and got up off the floor. Should I tell George? If no one else will hear, then okay. If the media finds out, well, that just wouldn't be good. Well, I'd better be going. It's getting late. And Cinda's probably wondering where I am. I just wanted to see to it that Polly was okay. And Paul, if you need anything, I want you to let me know. Well, I thought that was what Jen was here for, but all right. Okay, so if you need her to kick you in the balls again, I'm sure she'd be willing to. Okay, good night all, he said, and then he left out the front door. Well, that was nice of John to come over here like that, I commented. I could tell that Paul was starting to be in pain again, so I took a look at the papers the doctor had given me. Paul, get down on the floor like a dog. Jen, I did you earlier. I'm not up to anything kinky right now. No. It's not for that. Just do it, okay? So he got down on the floor like a dog. I looked at the paper again. I put one hand and his mid-back, don't you mean on his mid-back, and pressed down on it, and my other hand over the baby and pressed up. He groaned quietly as I did this to him. I very gently pushed him up into a sitting position like this. Like what? I can't see what you're doing. And then let go of him. Paul, did it help? Yeah, it did. Good. I think you can make it to bed? I think so. Okay. You get in bed and I'll make you dinner. So Paul went to bed and I made him something to eat. I brought the food to him on a little tray so he could eat in bed. I waited on him hand and foot for days, trying to keep him in bed and as comfortable as possible. 1 month later, Paul now looked like he had a basketball underneath his shirt, except it wasn't a basketball, it was his stomach. Actually, no, it would be his baby. He had seen the doctor, he had been to the doctor several times now, and he was now equivalent to that of a woman at 6 months. Oh God, I look so terrible. I'm all fat and ugly. No, you're not. I mean, you've got a kid in there and you'll never be ugly. Never. Then a knock came on the door. Standing there was John, Cynthia, and baby Julian. Oh, hi. What a nice surprise. I had John bring us over as soon as I'd heard what happened. Jennifer, how on earth were you able to take care of him so well while he's like this? John tried for me, but gave up when I was only about 7 weeks. How far along is Paul now? Cynthia was always one to have an inquisitive side. Well, in reality, he's only about a month and a half pregnant, but the doctor said that he's the same as a woman if she were 6 months pregnant. That would be why his belly is so big, and he's still gonna get even bigger. Can we come in? Sure. Sorry to have kept you out there so long. I got a little carried away, but make yourselves right at home. I brought them into the living room as I do all my guests. Can I let Julian down to crawl around? I guess so. I don't see why not. Sin set Julian down on the floor and he curled up with his blanket. Jennifer, where's Paul? Oh, he's in the bedroom. He's been confined to bed rest by the doctor. I doubt he's asleep, though. Can he come out here? I guess so. He doesn't get up very much, and I don't think that if he stayed on the couch that it would hurt him too much. So if you'll just excuse me a moment, I'll go and get him. How about you bring them to his room instead of making him get up and come out there if he's supposed to be on bed rest, you idiot. So I headed toward the bedroom where Paul was laying down on the bed reading a book. Paul, Johnson, and Jules are out in the other room. They came to see you. You want to get out there, or do you want to have me bring them in here? I'll go out there. I'm so bloody sick of this room. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Paul, remember that it's only going to be a few more weeks and then you'll have this baby out of you. You can last a couple more weeks. I know you can. I took him by the hand and tried to help him up, but his other hand flew up to his stomach and he fell to the floor. Paul? What happened? Paul? Paul? Jesus Christ. The capital words are just driving me bonkers at this point. He wouldn't respond to me. Oh fuck, I thought. Jennifer, what's going on in there? I heard from the other room. Nothing at all. Are you sure that you don't need any help? I'm sure. I helped pick Paul up off the floor. Paul, what's wrong? Groan. Don't. They did it again, but I'm not gonna. It's me goddamn stomach again. I'm so fucking cursed. Paul, they're wondering what's going on in here. Now come on. I gently took his arm and pulled him toward the door. When we got out there, John's eyes bugged out of his head. Paul, he cried as he ran over to him. Paul, sit down, dear. You shouldn't be up on your feet much while you're like this. Sin said as John helped Paul onto the couch. Julian climbed up into Sin's lap and fell asleep. Paul, are you going to be all right? John asked. Of course I will. Wait a sec. He took John's hand and placed them on his stomach. Can you feel that? Yeah. You're really not joking about this whole pregnancy thing, are you? I really wish that I was, Paul said, looking up at John with big sad eyes. Paul, try not to cry, okay? I said to him from across the room. I've seen way too much of him crying in the past few weeks, and it was very depressing. I didn't know how much more of this I could take. My dear sweet Paul was in pain, and it was very hard for me to watch. I was the one that was supposed to be going through all this, not him. I didn't know how I'd ever make it up to him for this. He probably wanted to leave me after he was done recovering, and could I really blame him for it? Hell no. How would it be your fault though? It was a freak accident. Jen, are you okay? You're getting really pale. I'm fine, I blurted out quickly. I just need a little fresh air. Excuse me. I'm just going to step outside for a moment. I bolted out the front door and collapsed in tears on the ground as soon as I got the door shut. I cried so hard that I couldn't see, couldn't think, couldn't breathe. I didn't notice that the door had creaked open.